She thought she was just picking up milk and bread. But when Madison walked back through her mother's front door 30 minutes later, she'd carry a truth that would rewrite her entire childhood. Sometimes the most ordinary errands lead to the most extraordinary discoveries, and this Tuesday afternoon would prove that in ways she never saw coming. Madison had driven 3 hours to spend the week with her mom, Denise, who just turned 58. It was supposed to be a simple visit, the kind they'd done dozens of times before. Help around the house, catch up on life, maybe finally sort through some boxes in the garage. Her mom had seemed tired lately, quieter than usual, and Madison figured she just needed company. That morning, Denise had mentioned they were out of a few things, so Madison grabbed her mom's wallet from the kitchen counter and headed to the store. Just a quick trip. Nothing special. She had no idea that leaving her mother alone for those 30 minutes would change everything. The grocery store was busy for a Tuesday, and Madison found herself wandering the aisles longer than planned, adding things to the cart her mom probably needed but hadn't mentioned. Extra coffee. Those cookies she used to love. Some fresh flowers, because why not? She was checking out when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Is this Denise's daughter? This is Jennifer from the bank. Please call when you can. Madison's stomach tightened. Banks don't usually text. She paid quickly and rushed to the car, dialing the number before she even started the engine. If you believe a mother's love never fades, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss stories that touch your heart. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the end of this one. Because what Madison was about to discover in the next few hours would show her a side of her mother she'd never known existed, a side that had been hidden behind 20 years of carefully constructed normalcy. Jennifer's voice was professional but warm when she answered. Thank you for calling back. I hope I'm not overstepping, but your mother came in last week, and I've been concerned. She was asking about her accounts, specifically about transferring everything into your name. She seemed like she was preparing for something. Madison's hands went cold. Preparing for what? There was a pause. She didn't say exactly, but she mentioned making sure you'd be taken care of. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but she's been a client here for 15 years, and something felt off. I thought you should know. The drive back to her mother's house took 7 minutes, but it felt like an hour. Madison's mind raced through possibilities, each one worse than the last. Was her mom sick? Had she gotten bad news from a doctor? Why wouldn't she have said something? They just had breakfast together, laughing about a TV show they both watched. Denise had seemed fine. Completely fine. But maybe that was the point. Maybe she'd been hiding something all along. Madison pulled into the driveway and grabbed the grocery bags with shaking hands. She walked through the front door calling out cheerfully, trying to sound normal. Mom, I'm back. They had those cookies on sale, but the house was quiet. Too quiet. She set the bags on the kitchen counter and walked down the hallway toward her mother's bedroom. The door was slightly open, and Madison could hear something. Crying. Soft, muffled crying that made her heart break before she even understood why. She pushed the door open gently. Her mother was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding a stack of papers, tears streaming down her face. On the bed beside her were envelopes, documents, photographs, and what looked like medical files. Denise looked up, startled, and quickly tried to wipe her eyes. You're back already? I didn't hear you come in. Madison crossed the room and sat beside her mother, close enough that their knees touched. Mom, what's going on? Jennifer from the bank called me. And now I find you like this. Please, just tell me the truth. Denise was quiet for a long moment, staring down at the papers in her hands. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. I didn't want you to worry. I've been handling it on my own because that's what mothers do. We protect our children, even when they're grown. She handed Madison one of the documents. It was a letter from a law firm, dated 3 months earlier. Madison scanned it quickly, her eyes catching phrases that didn't make sense at first. Settlement offer. Personal injury claim. Permanent disability assessment. I don't understand, Madison said. What is this? Her mother took a shaky breath. 2 years ago, I was in an accident at work. A bad one. I didn't tell you because you were in the middle of your own crisis, remember? You just lost your job, and Jake had moved out, and you were barely holding it together. I couldn't add my problems to yours. Madison felt her chest tighten. 2 years ago. She'd been so wrapped up in her own life falling apart that she hadn't even noticed her mother was suffering. The injury damaged my spine, Denise continued. I've been working through the pain, going to therapy, doing everything the doctors told me to do. But it's getting worse. They're saying I might need to stop working completely within the next year. Little did Madison realize there was more to the story. Her mother reached for another envelope, this one worn and creased like it had been opened and refolded 100 times. Inside were bank statements showing regular deposits, amounts that seemed too large for her mother's salary. I've been fighting the company for compensation, Denise explained. It's been 2 years of lawyers and paperwork and fighting just to get them to admit the accident happened. But last week, they finally offered a settlement. It's enough, Madison. It's enough to make sure I'll be okay, and enough to leave you something when I'm gone. When you're gone. Madison's voice cracked. Mom, you're 58, not 90. Why are you talking like this? Denise smiled sadly and reached for her daughter's hand. Because I'm tired, sweetheart. So tired. And I realized I've spent the last 2 years hiding this from you, pretending everything was fine when I was falling apart. I was trying to protect you, but all I did was push you away. You kept asking if something was wrong, and I kept saying no. I've been lying to you for 2 years. The weight of it hit Madison all at once. All those phone calls where her mom had sounded off, all those visits that felt slightly wrong, all the times Madison had noticed her mother moving slower or wincing when she stood up. She'd seen the signs but never pushed hard enough to get past the walls Denise had built. Why didn't you tell me? Madison whispered. I'm your daughter. I could have helped. I should have been there. You were dealing with your own life, Denise said firmly. And that's exactly what you should have been doing. That's what I wanted. I didn't sacrifice everything to raise a strong, independent woman just so you could drop your life every time I had a problem. But I'm telling you now because I realized something. I was so busy protecting you that I forgot you're not a child anymore. You're a woman who deserves to know the truth about her mother's life, even the hard parts. Madison pulled her mother into a hug, and they both cried. For the pain Denise had carried alone. For the distance that had grown between them. For all the conversations they should have had but didn't. When they finally pulled apart, Madison looked at the papers scattered across the bed. Okay, she said, her voice steadier now. Tell me everything. Every detail. And then we're going to figure this out together because that's what families do. They spent the rest of the afternoon going through every document, every medical report, every piece of the puzzle Denise had been carrying alone. Madison learned about physical therapy appointments her mother had driven herself to, about nights Denise had cried herself to sleep from the pain, about the fear of becoming a burden to her only child. But she also learned about her mother's strength, her determination to handle it on her own terms, and her absolute refusal to let pain define her life. What would you have done in this situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Sometimes we all need a reminder that our parents aren't superheroes. They're just people who love us enough to carry burdens we never see. And sometimes the bravest thing we can do is let them know they don't have to carry those burdens alone. Because a parent's love never forgets.